The demand. The chamber of the Galactic Assembly stretched wider than any cathedral humanity had ever built. Its ceiling was a swirling tapestry of holographic stars, a reminder of the countless civilizations gathered here under one fragile banner. For thousands of years, the Assembly had been the stage where disputes were resolved, laws declared, and peace, however tenuous, maintained. But on this day, the chamber pulsed with tension. At the center dais stood the delegation of the Zerath Dominion, towering reptilian warriors clad in ceremonial armor that gleamed like burnished obsidian. Their leader, Warlord Zerath, raised his clawed hand and let his voice thunder across the chamber. "Humans of soul," he spat, drawing the word out like venom. "You stand among us by sufferance alone. You clawed your way to the stars far too quickly. You expand where you are not invited. You defy tribute. You do not show respect. For this, we issue the only challenge worthy of a warrior people: conflict." A hush fell over the assembly. Dozens of species turned their eyes toward the human delegation. Some pitied them. Others smirked knowingly. Few expected the upstart newcomers to do anything but stammer out apologies. No one defied the Zerath. Admiral Gabriel Reyes stood slowly. His uniform was crisp, but his face bore the weary lines of a man who had seen too many wars back home. Beside him, Envoy Lian Chen, Earth's chief diplomat, kept her expression unreadable, though her eyes flicked briefly to the crowd of alien delegates who already whispered about humanity's impending humiliation. Reyes adjusted the microphone embedded into the podium. His voice was calm, measured, controlled. "You demand conflict," he repeated, "and you expect us to kneel before that demand." Zerath bared his fangs. "We do not expect. We know. Every race that has stood here has bent before us. Those who did not no longer exist." At that, a ripple of unease passed through the chamber. It was true. The Zerath had tested countless species, and those who had chosen defiance had been crushed. It was the price of survival in a galaxy ruled by predators. Envoy Lian leaned closer to Reyes. Her words meant only for him. "They expect you to bluster, then fold. We could still negotiate. Save lives." Reyes didn't take his eyes off the Zerath warlord. "We've tried negotiation before," he murmured. "They only hear strength." Straightening, Reyes let his gaze sweep across the chamber. His eyes met those of other species, some ancient, some young, many who had already endured Zerath conflict and paid dearly for survival. He saw in them the same fear he had seen in young soldiers staring out of trench lines back on Earth. Fear of the inevitable. And in that moment, he understood what humanity must be. "Warlord Zerath," Reyes said, his tone sharpening, "we have heard your demand. You believe conflict is the only language that matters. Very well." The chamber stilled, breaths held. "You will have conflict," Reyes continued, his voice rising. "But understand this. When humanity answers, we do not answer halfway. We do not fight for honor or for sport. We do not fight to prolong wars, or to prove ourselves to tyrants. When we fight to end. And once begun, we will not stop until the war is finished, on our terms." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few species whispered frantically to each other. Others stared at the human delegation in disbelief. No one spoke to the Zerath that way. Zerath's eyes narrowed. "You dare threaten the Dominion?" "No," Reyes said. His words were flat, cold. "We promise." For a long moment, silence hung heavy over the chamber. Then the warlord's fanged grin spread wide, equal parts amusement and bloodlust. "So be it. The Sol system will burn, and your kind will join the list of species who mistook defiance for strength." Envoy Lian exhaled slowly, her knuckles white where she gripped the railing. But Reyes never flinched. He held the alien's gaze until the Zerath delegation turned and marched out of the chamber, their armor echoing like the footsteps of doom. Only then did he lean closer to her, voice low, meant for her ears alone. "They wanted conflict," he said. "Now they'll learn what it means when humans answer." The first strike. The command deck of the UNS Resolute was bathed in cold blue light as Admiral Gabriel Reyes studied the holographic map of the Zerath frontier. Red markers flared across the display, enemy strongholds, garrisons, and supply lines. For most of the galaxy, such a network would be untouchable, a wall of fire daring anyone to challenge it. To Reyes, it was a map of vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. Operation Iron Dawn is ready, reported Commander Alvarez, his second-in-command. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the same steel-hard resolve that had spread through the fleet ever since the assembly meeting. 7-2 ships, 2 carrier groups, drone flotillas already in position. Just say the word. Reyes didn't hesitate. Execute. The order rippled outward, carried by encrypted signals across light years. And for the first time in its young history among the stars, humanity struck first. The Zerath outpost on Vorat Prime was the first to fall. A fortress built into jagged cliffs, bristling with plasma cannons, it had withstood 3 centuries of raids. To the Zerath, it was impregnable, but the humans didn't come with ceremonial fleets or grand declarations. They came with silence. From the void, swarms of stealth drones slipped past the planetary sensors, invisible to the primitive detection arrays the Zerath still relied upon. The drones seeded the cliffs with guided charges, their signals synchronized to a single beat. When the humans struck, it was surgical. The cliffs themselves exploded inward, burying the fortress under millions of tons of rock. Before the dust settled, human marines dropped from orbit, securing the survivors. Not for mercy, not for pity, but for information. Across the frontier, the story repeated. Zerath warships lumbered into ambushes laid by human frigates that darted like wolves, hitting engines and command centers before vanishing into the void. Supply depots went dark as human hackers unleashed viruses that turned automated defenses against their own masters. To the Zerath, it was chaos. To humanity, it was calculated inevitability. One transmission, captured and broadcast across the assembly's secure channels, spread like wildfire. A captured Zerath commander, chained in a human brig, hissed into the recorder. They do not fight as others fight. No challenges, no honor duels, no chance for glory. They come in silence, strike where we are weakest, and leave nothing. They fight like they mean to erase us. And then, in a cold voice over the recording, Admiral Reyes himself spoke. Correction. We fight because you demanded it. You asked for conflict. You will receive war, but do not expect mercy. On the Resolute, Reyes convened his officers in the war room. The faces around the table were hard, but behind their eyes burned something more than anger. It was purpose. We've blooded their frontier, Reyes began. That was the easy part. Now the Zerath will rally. They'll bring their main fleets to bear, and they'll expect us to stand and trade fire like every other race before us. He leaned forward, voice like iron. We will not give them that satisfaction. We will not fight their war. We'll fight ours. Alvarez nodded. Guerrilla warfare. Asymmetric pressure. Never where they are strong, always where they are blind. Reyes's lips curved into the faintest smile. Exactly. We adapt. We strike. We vanish. And when they look over their shoulders, wondering where we'll strike next, they'll find we're already there. News spread through the galaxy faster than light could carry it. Holoscreens across countless worlds showed grainy footage of Zerath fleets burning, of fortresses turned to rubble. Other species who had once pitted humanity now watched in stunned silence. The humans weren't supposed to survive their first clash with the Dominion. Instead, they were dismantling it piece by piece. In the council halls, alien ambassadors whispered fears that chilled them more than the Zerath ever had. If this is what humans do when provoked, what will they do when they decide to conquer? On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood at the viewport, watching a Zerath cruiser burn in the void. He didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. They'll send reinforcements soon, Alvarez said. Reyes nodded. Good. Let them. The sooner they commit everything they have, the sooner we can break them. He clasped his hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the dying glow of the enemy vessel. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every soul on the bridge. They wanted conflict, he said. Now they'll learn what war truly means. The lesson of mercy. The Galactic Assembly Chamber was silent when the latest reports arrived. Entire sectors along the Zerath frontier had gone dark. Fortresses that had stood for generations lay in ruin. Fleets that had once terrorized lesser races now drifted as shattered hulks. Delegates whispered among themselves, fear palpable in the air. None of them feared the Zerath anymore. They feared the humans. Envoy Lian Chen stood at the Assembly Center, delivering her report with steady calm. The United Nations fleet has engaged the Zerath Dominion at 9 border systems. As of today, all 9 are under human control. Our forces continue to advance. Her words fell like stones into water. The ripples spread quickly. A Valeri ambassador hissed, "You go too far. The Zerath are broken already. Why press further?" Lian's dark eyes hardened. Because mercy has no place in this war. On the flagship Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood in the war room, watching a projection of the Sol system, Earth, Mars, Luna. His jaw tightened. They struck civilian colonies on Rigel Outpost, Commander Alvarez reported grimly. 2 million dead. They didn't even bother with occupation. They wanted slaughter. Around the table, officers clenched fists, some muttering curses under their breath. Reyes closed his eyes for a moment. He had fought wars on Earth long before humanity reached the stars. He remembered villages in the ashes of civil war, cities broken by bombs, survivors who begged for mercy and received only more violence. He opened his eyes, voice cold. The Zerath wanted us to play their game. We won't. From this moment forward, no Zerath military target will remain standing. If they use civilians as shields, the shields will burn with them. A heavy silence followed. Then Alvarez spoke what all were thinking. That's extermination, sir. Reyes didn't flinch. No, that's ending the war. The assault on Drakthar, the Zerath industrial hub, became the lesson the galaxy would never forget. The Zerath thought themselves clever, hiding their fleet among orbital shipyards crowded with civilian labors. It was a tactic designed to force hesitation. The humans did not hesitate. At Reyes's command, the sky lit with orbital strikes. Human carriers launched wave after wave of precision missiles. Explosions tore through shipyards, igniting fuel reserves, ripping apart half-finished warships. The flames spread to civilian districts below, turning night into endless day. From orbit, the human fleet broadcast one chilling message. Mercy is wasted on those who demanded war. Remember Rigel. Remember who struck first. Every death is yours to answer for. News of Drakthar's fall shattered the assembly. Delegates cried out in outrage, demanding sanctions, begging humanity to stop. But none dared send fleets against them. The memory of Zerath warships burning still lingered. In private meetings, some envoys asked Lian Chen, "Why do you not spare them? Why do you not stop?" Her reply was always the same. Because mercy to the merciless is suicide. We fight to end this war, not to prolong it. Among the Zerath, despair spread. Warriors who had once roared for battle now muttered of annihilation. Their culture had always glorified conflict, but no one had ever fought them like this. Without hesitation, without limits. A captured Zerath officer spat the question at his human interrogator. Why do you not fight with honor? Why do you strike where we are weakest? The interrogator, a scarred Marine from Earth, leaned forward and whispered, because we fight to win. And because you asked for this. As humanity pressed deeper into Zerath territory, the Assembly prepared frantic resolutions. Some begged Earth to stop, others threatened censure. But none could deny the truth spreading across the stars. Humanity was not fighting for conquest. They were fighting for finality. The Zerath had demanded conflict. Now they reaped its harvest. And as Admiral Reyes prepared his fleet for the ultimate strike, he said the words that defined humanity's war. We gave them every chance to step back. They demanded we step forward. Now we show them the cost of mercy denied. Without mercy, the Zerath homeworld, Korath, had stood for millennia as a citadel of power. Black spires jutted from its continents like jagged teeth, and its skies swarmed with fleets forged in endless wars. Every conquered race had feared this place, whispering its name as one whispers of death. Now the humans had come. From orbit, the night above Korath blazed as the United Nations fleet emerged from warp. Carriers, destroyers, and frigates fanned out in disciplined silence. Their formation was not ceremonial, not for spectacle. It was the posture of predators closing on a cornered beast. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood at the viewport, arms clasped behind his back. His voice carried evenly across the command deck. Begin the assault. The first salvo rained down in fire. Orbital platforms disintegrated under precision strikes. Shielded fortresses, long thought invulnerable, shattered in thunder as railgun rounds punched through them. Entire Zerath squadrons tried to intercept, only to vanish in blossoms of plasma as human warships executed maneuvers no alien fleet would dare attempt. The battle was brutal, swift, and merciless. On the surface, the Zerath fought with all their legendary ferocity. Warriors poured into the streets, roaring battle cries as human dropships descended. They expected close-quarters combat, duels of honor in which they could prove themselves. Instead, they found nothing but fire. Human Marines advanced with drones at their flanks, cutting through resistance with disciplined volleys. Snipers eliminated commanders before they could rally their troops. Civilians, pressed into service as shields, fell alongside soldiers when orbital strikes ignored the Zerath's desperate gambit. To the Zerath, it was horror. To the humans, it was necessary. In the war room, Commander Alvarez watched casualty reports scroll across the displays. They are breaking, sir. Entire divisions surrendering. Civilians fleeing into the wilds. Some of their generals are begging for terms. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then Reyes spoke, voice like granite. Terms were offered at the assembly. They refused. Alvarez hesitated. So, if we continue, this isn't just victory. This is extinction. Reyes turned his gaze toward the hologram of Korath, burning across its continents. They demanded conflict, he said. If we stop now, they'll rise again in a generation and demand it once more. No half measures. We finish it, hey. The final stage was prepared. Human fleets positioned satellites in low orbit, each loaded with kinetic projectiles the size of skyscrapers. They were not bombs, not weapons of terror. They were mathematics made flesh, velocity and mass brought together in unstoppable finality. At Reyes' command, the sky fell. One by one, the projectiles slammed into Korath's surface. Cities vanished in seconds. Oceans boiled into steam. Mountains folded under the force. The Zerath homeworld, cradle of their civilization, became a world of fire and ash. From orbit, the sight seared itself into memory, a predator's lesson to the galaxy. When it was done, silence fell across the fleet. No cheers, no celebration, just the quiet weight of what they had wrought. Envoy Lian Chen entered the bridge, her expression grim. It's finished, she said softly. Reyes' eyes remained on the burning planet. No, it's ended. There's a difference. In the Galactic Assembly, weeks later, the surviving delegates listened as humanity delivered its address. Envoy Lian stood tall, her words echoing through the chamber. The Zerath demanded conflict. We answered. We did not seek conquest. We did not seek war. But when forced, we fight to end wars, not to sustain them. Remember this. Should you ever demand conflict of Earth, do not expect mercy. The chamber was silent. Some species trembled. Others looked upon humanity with newfound respect. But all of them understood one truth. A line had been drawn. Humanity was no longer the upstart race clawing for survival. They were a predator among predators, unrelenting, uncompromising, and unmerciful when provoked. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood once more at the viewport, the stars stretching endlessly before him. His crew moved in silence, carrying out their duties with the quiet discipline of those who had seen the worst of war. Reyes' thoughts lingered on the assembly, on the whispers that would spread across every world. Humanity had written its name into galactic history not with diplomacy, but with fire. They demanded conflict, he murmured, almost to himself. We gave them war, and we ended it, as only humans could.